Mental victory. Train your mind to beat anything. Introduction. Every triumph begins long before the finish line is crossed. Victories are not secured when the medal is placed around the neck, when the contract is signed, or when the applause finally erupts. True victory is won in the mind. It is forged in the unseen hours when no one is watching, in the private conversations you have with yourself, and in the discipline to believe in possibility when evidence appears stacked against you. The world has taught us to measure success in outcomes, but those outcomes are merely reflections of an inner world already mastered. Mental victory is not just about overcoming hardship, it is about training your mind to see beyond limits, to stay calm in storms, and to rise in moments when most would fall. The mind is the greatest force in your possession. It can enslave you with fear, doubt, and hesitation, or it can liberate you with courage, clarity, and unshakable belief. The battles you face are not merely external. The job loss, the failed relationship, the financial struggle, the health challenge. These are events, but how you interpret them, how you respond to them, and how you choose to define yourself in relation to them is entirely mental. Some people crumble under the weight of challenges while others use those same challenges as stepping stones to transformation. The difference lies not in circumstance but in mental training. An untrained mind is easily defeated. It is reactive, fragile, and dependent on the approval of others. It accepts scarcity, entertains doubt, and magnifies obstacles until they feel insurmountable. But a trained mind operates differently. It is disciplined, intentional, and resilient. It chooses abundance over fear, gratitude over complaint, focus over distraction. With training, your mind becomes like a well-conditioned athlete, able to perform under pressure, recover from setbacks, and push beyond limits once thought impossible. Mental victory is not a gift reserved for a select few. It is a skill anyone can develop with practice and persistence. This book is not about empty motivation or fleeting positivity. It is about building a mental framework so strong that no circumstance can dismantle it. The truth is that challenges will come. Life will test you with losses, with uncertainty, with moments that feel unfair and unbearable. But if your mind has been trained for victory, you will not only endure these moments, you will grow through them. You will discover strength you never knew you had, clarity you once doubted was possible, and an ability to create opportunities in places others see only dead ends. Mental victory is not denial of reality. It is mastery of response. When you begin to train your mind, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Try me." You stop shrinking before fear and start using fear as fuel. You stop waiting for ideal circumstances and start creating progress where you stand. You become proof that the mind, once disciplined, can bend reality itself. That is why some people succeed against all odds, while others, given every advantage, still fail. Victory is not luck. Victory is not external. Victory is mental, and once it is won inside, the outside world eventually aligns with it. The chapters ahead will guide you through this training. You will learn how to transform limiting beliefs into empowering truths, how to discipline your mind daily, how to master focus, emotion, and self-talk, how to face fear with courage, and how to cultivate resilience so strong that setbacks cannot stop you. You will learn to see abundance where others see scarcity, and to create momentum that compounds over time into extraordinary outcome. Mental victory is not a one-time event. It is a daily decision. Every thought, every response, every moment is a chance to strengthen or weaken your mind. With deliberate practice, you will no longer be at the mercy of doubt, fear, or failure. Instead, you will carry a mental armor that allows you to beat anything life places in your path. This book is your training ground, and by the time you finish it, you will know that the greatest victories are not won in arenas, stages, or boardrooms. They are won in the quiet command of the mind. Chapter 1. The Invisible Arena, where victories are forged. Every great achievement in human history began in a place no one could see. Before the skyscraper pierced the clouds, it existed as an idea in the mind of an architect. Before the athlete stood on the podium, the victory was rehearsed thousands of times in quiet, unseen hours of training. Before any invention changed the world, its creator wrestled with doubt and persistence inside their own head. What happens internally shapes what happens externally, and the invisible arena of the mind is where victories are forged long before they are visible to others. Most people believe that winning is about circumstances. They imagine that if only they had more money, more support, better timing, or fewer obstacles, their life would look radically different. Yet evidence tells another story. There are countless examples of individuals who began with very little, who faced impossible odds, and who still emerged victorious. There are also people who were given every resource, every advantage, and still managed to sabotage their own success. The deciding factor is not the external environment, but the internal condition of the mind. When the mind is disciplined, focused, and resilient, it creates progress even in hostile conditions. When the mind is scattered, fragile, and doubtful, it will collapse under pressure no matter how favorable the circumstances. Think about the way fear and doubt operate. They often arrive disguised as rational thoughts. Fear tells you not to take risks because it wants to keep you safe. Doubt whispers that you are not ready because it wants to prevent you from embarrassment or failure. These voices sound protective, but in truth they are mental illusions that shrink your life. The invisible arena is where you decide whether to accept those whispers as truth or to challenge them with courage and conviction. Winning begins with the ability to recognize that your thoughts are not commands but choices. You may not control the first thought that enters your mind, but you always control whether you feed it or replace it with a stronger one. Consider for a moment the power of focus. A magnifying glass can set fire to paper when sunlight passes through it, not because the sun grew stronger, but because the light was concentrated. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention dilutes your strength. Focused attention turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Yet focus does not come naturally in a world designed to fragment it. Distractions are endless. Notifications, obligations, and noise compete for space in your mental arena. Training your mind for victory means reclaiming that focus and deciding where your energy will go. You cannot win a battle in the invisible arena if you allow every distraction to scatter your troops. Another element of this invisible battle is belief. Beliefs are invisible scripts that run your life. Some of them empower you while others limit you. If you believe you are capable, you will take actions aligned with that belief. If you believe you are destined to fail, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself to prove the belief true. This is why changing your life requires changing your beliefs. Belief is not blind optimism. It is the decision to hold a vision of what is possible and to act as though it is within reach. Victories are born when belief becomes stronger than doubt, when you trust that you can handle whatever comes, and when you commit to growth, even when success is not immediate. Mental victory also requires understanding the nature of setbacks. Every person will experience failure, disappointment, and unexpected obstacles. These are not signs that you are unworthy or incapable. They are part of the process of growth. In the invisible arena, setbacks are opportunities to build resilience. When something does not go as planned, you can interpret it as proof that you should quit, or you can see it as feedback, as information guiding you toward a better strategy. The mind that sees setbacks as final will always lose. The mind that sees setbacks as stepping stones will eventually win. There is also the matter of self-talk. Every person holds an ongoing conversation with themselves that few others ever hear. In that dialogue, you either build yourself up or tear yourself down. Words matter, and the words you repeat to yourself create the climate of your inner world. If your inner language is filled with criticism, comparison, and fear, then your mind becomes hostile ground where victory is almost impossible. If your language is filled with encouragement, vision, and possibility, then your inner world becomes fertile soil where success can take root. Training self-talk is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about directing your mind towards solutions, strengths, and strategies instead of drowning in problems. In this invisible arena, discipline is your ally. Many people hope to feel motivated every day, but motivation is fleeting. Some days you will feel inspired. Other days you will feel heavy, tired, or unprepared. If you rely only on motivation, your performance will be inconsistent. Discipline ensures that you show up whether you feel like it or not. It is the structure that carries you when emotions waver. Training the mind to be disciplined means deciding in advance who you want to be and holding yourself accountable to that vision. This is not about harshness. It is about alignment. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your mental muscle, and that strength compounds into victory. Courage plays a crucial role in this hidden battleground. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Every dream, every meaningful pursuit will invite fear. Fear is a natural response to stepping into the unknown, but the trained mind recognizes fear as a signal of growth. Instead of retreating, it leans forward. Instead of freezing, it moves, one step at a time. Courage is the weapon that silences the voices of hesitation in the invisible arena and allows you to cross thresholds others never attempt. Ultimately, the invisible arena is a place of choice. Each day you choose whether you will fight for your highest self or surrender to the habits of doubt, distraction, and scarcity. No one else can fight this battle for you. Friends, mentors, and resources can support you, but the decisive moments happen in silence, when it is just you and your thoughts. Will you let your mind control you, or will you train your mind to serve you? Will you be a prisoner of your fears, or a warrior for your vision? These questions are answered not once but daily, moment by moment, decision by decision. When you begin to see life as a battle first won in the mind, everything changes. Obstacles stop being signs of defeat and become opportunities to prove your strength. Fear stops being a signal to stop and becomes an invitation to expand. Setbacks stop being reasons to quit and become training grounds for resilience. Each time you win in the invisible arena, you set in motion victories that will eventually be seen in the visible world. People may call it luck, timing, or talent, but you will know the truth. The victory was already secured long before the results appeared. The invisible arena is where you train your mind to beat anything. It is the gym of the spirit, the proving ground of character, the birthplace of abundance. If you master this space, there is no obstacle that can defeat you, because victory will already be yours before the world even notices. Chapter 2. The Power of Belief, Shaping Reality from Within. The most powerful forces in your life are not always the ones you can see or touch. Gravity is invisible, yet it governs the movement of the universe. Electricity is invisible, yet it lights entire cities. In the same way, belief is invisible, yet it shapes the course of your life more than any external factor. What you believe about yourself, about the world, and about what is possible defines the limits of your reality. Believe something cannot be done, you will stop yourself before you ever begin. If you believe it can be done, you will find the energy, the creativity, and the persistence to make it real. Belief does not guarantee instant success, but it sets the stage for it by determining how you engage with every challenge and opportunity that comes your way. The human mind is wired to act in alignment with its deepest beliefs. Psychologists call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you are not good enough, your behavior will reflect hesitation, avoidance, and second-guessing. That behavior then produces results that reinforce the original belief. On the other hand, if you believe you are capable, you will take bolder actions, persist longer, and carry yourself with a confidence that invites opportunity. Those results reinforce the belief that you are capable all along. In both cases, the cycle begins not with the external world, but with the inner conviction that frames your approach to it. Many people underestimate the power of belief because they confuse it with wishful thinking. They assume that belief is about closing your eyes and hoping for the best. But true belief is active, not passive. It is not about ignoring reality, but about shaping your response to reality. A person with unshakable belief does not deny challenges. They confront them with the conviction that they can be overcome. This conviction fuels persistence, creativity, and resilience. It keeps the mind engaged long enough for solutions to appear. Those without belief give up early, interpreting obstacles as proof that success was never possible. Those with belief keep moving until the obstacle yields. Think about the difference between a person who believes they can run a marathon and a person who believes they cannot. Both will face the same physical fatigue, the same long training hours, and the same discomfort. The one who believes they cannot will interpret the pain as confirmation of limitation and will stop. The one who believes they can will interpret the pain as part of the process and will keep moving. The difference is not in the body, but in the mind. Belief is the filter that interprets every sensation, every event, every setback. Belief also expands vision. If you believe only in what you can already see, your future will be limited to the boundaries of your current circumstances. But if you believe in possibilities beyond what is visible, your imagination expands. You begin to see potential where others see dead ends. History is filled with examples of innovators, leaders, and creators who believed in ideas that seemed impossible at the time. They were laughed at, doubted, and criticized, yet their belief sustained them through rejection until the world finally caught up. Progress is made by those whose belief is strong enough to endure ridicule and slow enough to outlast doubt. To cultivate belief, you must first confront the limiting beliefs you already carry. Many of these were absorbed unconsciously from childhood, from culture, or from past experiences. Perhaps someone told you that you were not smart enough, not talented enough, or not worthy enough. Perhaps you failed once and allowed that failure to harden into a conclusion about your abilities. These beliefs act like invisible walls around your potential, keeping you contained. Training your mind for victory requires challenging these beliefs, asking whether they are truly facts or simply stories you have accepted. More often than not, they are stories, and stories can be rewritten. Rewriting belief begins with language. The words you use to describe yourself shape the way you see yourself. If you constantly repeat that you are unlucky, clumsy, or incapable, your mind will adopt those descriptions as truth. If you begin to replace those words with affirmations of strength, growth, and possibility, your mind will start to align with those instead. The shift may feel uncomfortable at first because the old beliefs are familiar, but with repetition, the new language gains power. Belief is strengthened every time you speak possibility into your own life. But language alone is not enough. Belief grows stronger when it is backed by action. Each small victory reinforces the belief that you are capable. Each disciplined step builds evidence that you can be trusted with greater challenges. This is why consistency is vital. You do not need to conquer everything at once. You need to prove to yourself day by day that you are becoming the person you believe you can be. Over time, the evidence builds until your belief is no longer a fragile hope, but a solid conviction. Another critical element of belief is environment. The people around you either strengthen your belief or weaken it. If you surround yourself with voices of doubt, negativity, and scarcity, your belief will erode. If you surround yourself with people who encourage, inspire, and challenge you to grow, your belief will expand. Just as a seed needs fertile soil, your belief needs a supportive environment. Protect it fiercely. Guard your mind against influences that drain your confidence, and invest in relationships that nourish your vision. The power of belief is not only personal but collective. A single person's belief can ignite the belief of many. Movements, revolutions, and breakthroughs often begin with one individual who dares to believe in something greater than the present reality. That belief becomes contagious, spreading to others and creating a force too strong to be ignored. In this way, belief does more than shape individual lives. It shapes history. To train your mind for victory is to participate in this legacy of shaping reality from within, to add your conviction to the fabric of possibility that pulls humanity forward. At its core, belief is a choice. You may not choose every event that happens to you, but you always choose what you believe about yourself in response. You can believe you are a victim of circumstances, or you can believe you are a creator of outcomes. You can believe your past defines you, or you can believe your future is still unwritten. You can believe that fear means stop, or you can believe that fear means grow. These choices will determine not only the quality of your days, but the trajectory of your entire life. The invisible arena of belief is where victory begins. Train yourself to believe in abundance, in growth, in resilience, and in your own power to rise. The world will reflect back what you project inward. If you believe you are unstoppable, you will prove it through persistence. If you believe you are worthy, opportunities will begin to align with that worth. If you believe you can beat anything, your mind will marshal every resource to make it so. Belief is not the absence of struggle, but the certainty that no struggle will have the final word. Chapter 3, From Scarcity to Abundance, the mindset shift that changes everything. There are two primary ways to see the world, and the lens you choose determines how you experience life. One lens is scarcity, the belief that resources are limited, opportunities are rare, and someone else's gain automatically means your loss. The other lens is abundance, the belief that possibilities are infinite, opportunities multiply when embraced, and there is more than enough for everyone to rise. The difference between these two mindsets is profound. Scarcity creates fear, envy, and competition, while abundance creates gratitude, creativity, and collaboration. Scarcity narrows your vision to survival. Abundance expands your vision to growth. The mindset you adopt becomes the foundation of how you live, how you work, how you love, and ultimately how you win the mental battle. Scarcity thinking shows up in countless ways. It whispers that there is not enough money, not enough time, not enough love, not enough recognition. It convinces you that you must hoard, cling, and protect what little you have because it might disappear tomorrow. It creates the illusion that other people are threats to your success because if they succeed, there will be less left for you. This thinking breeds jealousy, resentment, and constant anxiety. Even when you achieve something, scarcity tells you it is not enough or that it will soon be taken away. A life driven by scarcity is a life spent in fear of loss, rather than joy in creation. Abundance thinking, on the other hand, flips the narrative. It recognizes that the world is full of resources, full of opportunities, full of ways to grow and contribute. It understands that success is not a finite pie with only a few slices available, but an ever-expanding table that grows as more people join it. When you adopt an abundance mindset, someone else's victory inspires you rather than threatens you, because it proves what is possible. Abundance thinking allows gratitude to flourish, because instead of focusing on what is missing, you become aware of what is already present. Gratitude in turn creates peace, energy, and creativity. In an abundant mindset, challenges are no longer signs of scarcity, but invitations to discover new ways to create and expand. The shift from scarcity to abundance is not automatic. For many people, scarcity is deeply ingrained. Society often reinforces it by presenting life as a competition for limited resources. From early schooling to corporate hierarchies, we are conditioned to believe that there are only so many seats, so many spots, so many chances, and that we must fight to secure them before someone else does. This conditioning makes abundance seem unrealistic, yet when you step back, you can see how false this narrative truly is. Technology, creativity, and human collaboration continually expand possibilities. New ideas create industries, new connections open doors, and new perspectives generate breakthroughs. There is no fixed limit to what can be created. The only limit is the mindset you bring to the table. Training the mind for abundance begins with awareness. Notice how often your thoughts are rooted in scarcity. Do you tell yourself you never have enough time? Do you feel threatened by someone else's success? Do you constantly worry about what you might lose, rather than what you can build? These patterns reveal where scarcity still holds influence. Once you identify them, you can begin to challenge them by asking a different set of questions. Instead of "what if I fail?" ask, "what can I learn if I try?" Instead of "why do they get to succeed?" ask, "what can I learn from their example?" Instead of "what if there is not enough?" ask, "how can I create more?" Abundance begins not with changing the world, but with changing the questions you ask yourself. One of the most powerful aspects of abundance is the way it multiplies energy. When you live in scarcity, you spend enormous mental energy worrying about what might go wrong, comparing yourself to others, and guarding what you have. That energy drains you, leaving little left for creativity and growth. When you live in abundance, you free up that energy because you no longer see life as a zero-sum game. You stop competing with everyone around you and start collaborating. You stop obsessing over what you might lose and start investing in what you can build. The energy that was once consumed by fear is redirected into creation, and that shift alone produces more opportunities. Gratitude is one of the daily practices that keeps the abundance mindset alive. When you take time to acknowledge what you already have, the relationships, the skills, the experiences, the opportunities, you remind yourself that you are not lacking. Gratitude rewires the brain to notice possibilities rather than deficits. The more you practice gratitude, the more naturally abundance thinking flows, because you are constantly reinforcing the truth that there is already more than enough. Gratitude is not passive contentment, but an active recognition that you are living in a world full of gifts, and from that recognition springs a natural desire to grow and give more. Abundance also changes your relationship with risk. Scarcity sees risk as a threat because it fears loss. Abundance sees risk as a chance because it trusts that even if one door closes, another can be opened. Scarcity avoids action because it worries about losing what little it has. Abundance embraces action because it believes in the ability to create more. This shift makes all the difference in moments of decision. A person trapped in scarcity will hesitate, overanalyze, and retreat, while a person anchored in abundance will move forward, learn, and adapt. Over time, those small forward movements compound into significant progress. Perhaps most importantly, abundance transforms relationships. Scarcity isolates people because it convinces them that others are competitors. Abundance unites people because it sees others as allies. When you operate from abundance, you celebrate others' successes rather than resent them. You share knowledge instead of guarding it. You build bridges instead of walls. This openness attracts trust, opportunity, and collaboration, creating a network of support that multiplies your own growth. No one thrives alone, and abundance thinking ensures that you are constantly building connections that strengthen not only your life, but the lives of those around you. The truth is that scarcity and abundance are both available at every moment. The world contains challenges and limitations, but it also contains boundless opportunity. The lens you choose determines what you see. A scarcity mindset narrows your vision until all you notice is what is missing. An abundance mindset widens your vision until you see the resources, possibilities, and allies that were always there. Training your mind to choose abundance consistently is one of the most important shifts you can make, because it turns life from a desperate struggle into a creative adventure. Victory belongs to those who can live in abundance, even when circumstances tempt them with scarcity. Anyone can believe in abundance when times are good, but the true test is whether you can hold that mindset when challenges arise. Can you trust that more opportunities will come when one door closes? Can you celebrate someone else's breakthrough while waiting for your own? Can you believe that resources will flow when fear insists they are running out? These are the moments that determine whether you remain a prisoner of scarcity or step into the freedom of abundance. When you embrace abundance, you align yourself with growth, creativity, and possibility. You stop living small and start living expansive. You stop competing for scraps and start creating new tables. You stop fearing loss and start trusting in the power of renewal. This is not naive optimism, but a disciplined choice to see the world through the lens of possibility rather than limitation. With practice, abundance becomes not just a belief but a way of being, and once that transformation occurs, the world responds accordingly. Opportunities expand, relationships deepen, and victories multiply, all because you trained your mind to move beyond scarcity and live in the wealth of abundance. Chapter 4. Resilience, rising every time you fall. Life will not spare you from disappointment, failure, or pain. At some point you will face moments that knock you to the ground. Moments where all your preparation seems useless, and moments where you wonder whether you can continue. It is in these moments that resilience becomes the decisive factor. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulty, but about enduring it, adapting to it, and ultimately growing stronger because of it. It is the ability to rise every time you fall, to meet adversity without surrender, and to transform wounds into wisdom. Without resilience, even small challenges can break you. With resilience, even great challenges become stepping stones. Resilience begins with the recognition that setbacks are part of the journey, not proof that the journey should end. Too often people interpret failure as final. They stumble once and decide that they are not cut out for the path they are on. They face rejection and conclude they are unworthy. They experience loss and assume life has permanently diminished them. This interpretation is what makes failure devastating, not the event itself. Resilient people face the same difficulties, but they interpret them differently. Instead of seeing failure as a permanent label, they see it as temporary feedback. Instead of letting rejection define their worth, they use it as fuel to refine their approach. Instead of allowing loss to close their hearts, they allow it to deepen their compassion and clarity. The mind plays a crucial role in resilience. When you are knocked down, your first instinct is often to focus on the pain, the injustice, or the disappointment. Left unchecked, the mind can spiral into despair. But a trained mind knows how to shift focus. It acknowledges the pain but does not remain trapped in it. It looks for meaning in the struggle and asks what can be learned, what strength can be developed, and what possibilities might still exist. This shift does not erase the difficulty, but it changes your relationship to it. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a student of growth. Resilience is not denial of hardship. It does not pretend everything is fine when it is not. True resilience is honest about pain, honest about loss, and honest about difficulty, but it refuses to be defined by them. It holds space for grief while also holding space for hope. It accepts setbacks as real, but not final. This balance allows you to process your emotions fully without being consumed by them. In fact, the most resilient individuals are not those who suppress their emotions, but those who learn to feel them deeply, release them, and continue moving forward. An essential part of resilience is the belief that you can recover. The body demonstrates this principle every day. When you cut your skin, the wound begins to heal almost immediately. When you break a bone, the body works tirelessly to restore strength. The same is true for the mind and spirit. You are built to recover, but you must allow the process to occur by refusing to surrender to hopelessness. Hope is the anchor that keeps resilience alive. It tells you that tomorrow can be different from today, that what has been lost is not the end of your story, and that growth is still possible. Every resilient person carries scars, but they do not see them as disfigurements. They see them as proof of survival, as reminders of the battles they have endured and the strength they have gained. A scar is evidence that you were hurt, but that you healed. In the same way, every challenge you overcome leaves you stronger and more equipped for the next one. Over time, resilience compounds. What once seemed unbearable becomes manageable. What once broke you now builds you. Each time you rise after falling, you increase your capacity to face the next challenge. Resilience also requires flexibility. Rigid minds break when life does not go according to plan. They cling so tightly to a single path that when it collapses, they collapse with it. Resilient minds, however, are adaptable. They recognize that there are many ways to reach a destination. If one door closes, they look for another. If one strategy fails, they design a new one. This flexibility ensures that a setback does not become a dead end. Instead, it becomes a detour, and sometimes those detours lead to destinations even better than the original plan. It is important to remember that resilience is not built in comfort, it is forged in difficulty. Just as muscles grow stronger when they are stretched and stressed, your resilience grows when you face challenges. If life were always easy, your capacity for resilience would remain undeveloped. The very struggles you wish to avoid are often the ones that shape you into the person capable of greater victories. This is why resilient people learn to see challenges not as punishments but as training. Each hardship is a chance to strengthen the mental and emotional muscles that will serve you later in even greater battles. Community also strengthens resilience. When you face trials, isolation magnifies the burden. When you connect with others who support, encourage, and remind you of your strength, resilience multiplies. Sharing your struggles does not make you weak. It allows you to draw strength from collective wisdom and experience. Even the strongest individuals lean on others in times of difficulty. And in doing so, they discover that resilience is not just personal but communal. You are more likely to rise when you rise together. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of resilience is the decision to rise not just once, but every time. Anyone can rise once. What defines resilience is the choice to rise again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. It is the commitment to keep moving forward even when progress is slow, even when the weight is heavy, and even when the outcome is uncertain. This persistence creates momentum, and eventually, momentum breaks through barriers. Resilience is the assurance that falling is never the end unless you refuse to get back up. To live with resilience is to live with courage, patience, and faith. It is to accept that life will wound you, but also that life will heal you. It is to know that setbacks are real, but not permanent. It is to carry the conviction that strength is always being built in the struggle. When you train your mind to embrace resilience, you stop fearing failure because you know you can recover. You stop fearing rejection because you know you can rise again. You stop fearing loss because you know that healing and growth will follow. Resilience frees you from the paralysis of fear because it assures you that no matter what happens, you will rise. The battle of life is not won by those who never fall, but by those who never stop rising. Every fall is an invitation to practice resilience. Every challenge is a chance to prove your capacity. Every setback is an opportunity to grow stronger. When you accept this, you no longer see difficulty as an enemy, but as an ally. You welcome it as part of the journey because you know it is shaping you into the person capable of winning the greatest victory. With resilience, you are unstoppable because nothing, not failure, not rejection, not loss, can keep you down for long. Chapter 5. The Discipline Muscle. Training consistency of mind. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. It is the muscle that carries you from dreaming about what you want to actually living it. Without discipline, even the most powerful vision fades into wishful thinking. With discipline, even modest beginnings transform into extraordinary results. Discipline is not glamorous, and it rarely feels exciting in the moment. But it is the quiet force that makes every victory possible. It is the daily decision to do what must be done, even when it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or uninspiring. Training the mind for victory requires cultivating discipline until it becomes second nature, until the question of whether you will follow through is no longer negotiable. Many people misunderstand discipline, seeing it as restriction or punishment. They imagine that to live with discipline is to live without joy, spontaneity, or freedom. In truth, the opposite is more accurate. A lack of discipline creates chaos. It traps you in cycles of inconsistency, where you constantly start and stop, where your progress is erased by your inability to follow through. That chaos robs you of freedom, because you are always reacting, always scrambling, always frustrated by your own lack of progress. Discipline, on the other hand, creates freedom. When your actions align with your goals, you no longer waste energy on regret or indecision. You know who you are and what you will do, and that clarity brings peace. Discipline does not restrict you. It liberates you to live a life of purpose. The mind must be trained like a muscle, and discipline is the weight it must lift daily. Just as muscles grow through repetition and resistance, discipline strengthens through consistent practice. The first time you choose discipline over comfort, it feels heavy. The temptation to quit or delay is strong. But each time you choose discipline, you make the next choice easier. Over time, the resistance lessens because your mental muscle grows stronger. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes automatic, and what once required enormous willpower becomes part of your identity. Discipline, when trained consistently, evolves into character. One of the greatest obstacles to discipline is the pursuit of motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It rises and falls with your emotions, with circumstances, with the weather of the day. Some mornings you wake up energized and ready, other mornings you wake up heavy, tired, and unmotivated. If you rely solely on motivation, your performance will fluctuate wildly. Discipline removes that volatility. Discipline says, I act regardless of how I feel. It is the anchor that holds you steady when motivation disappears. Winners are not those who are constantly motivated, they are those who are consistently disciplined. Discipline is also the antidote to procrastination. The mind often invents excuses to delay action. It tells you to wait until you feel ready, until conditions are perfect, until inspiration strikes. But perfection never arrives, and readiness is often a myth. Discipline understands this and chooses action anyway. It begins where you are, with what you have, and trusts that progress will create its own momentum. Each small action taken with discipline builds evidence that you can be relied upon, and that evidence gradually erodes the habit of procrastination. Training discipline requires structure. Without structure, even the strongest intentions collapse under the weight of distraction. Structure does not mean rigidity, it means clarity. It means deciding in advance what matters most and protecting time and energy for it. It means creating routines that align with your goals so that discipline becomes less about constant decision-making and more about consistent habit. The disciplined mind does not negotiate endlessly about whether to act. It has already decided. It has already built systems that make the right choice easier and the wrong choice harder. It is important to recognize that discipline will sometimes feel uncomfortable. It will ask you to delay gratification, to push through fatigue, to sacrifice convenience. This discomfort is not punishment but training. Just as a runner grows faster by enduring sprints that burn their lungs, and just as a lifter grows stronger by enduring repetitions that exhaust their muscles, the mind grows disciplined by enduring the discomfort of consistency. Each moment of discomfort is a signal that you are growing, that your discipline is being forged. Comfort does not build discipline, challenge does. Another essential truth about discipline is that it compounds. Small disciplined actions taken daily accumulate into enormous results over time. A single workout does not transform your body, but 100 disciplined workouts do. One day of saving does not build wealth, but years of disciplined saving does. 1 hour of focused work does not create mastery, but thousands of disciplined hours do. Discipline thrives in the long game. Those who chase instant gratification often quit when results do not appear immediately. Those who are disciplined trust the process and stay consistent long enough to reap the rewards. The mind resists discipline because it craves comfort. It prefers the short-term pleasure of ease over the long-term reward of growth. But every time you choose discipline, you train your mind to prioritize future victory over present comfort. You teach yourself that your vision matters more than your impulses. This training gradually reshapes your identity. You stop being someone who occasionally shows up and start being someone who always shows up. Identity is powerful, and when discipline becomes part of who you are, victory becomes inevitable. Discipline also extends beyond personal habits into the way you manage your thoughts and emotions. Mental discipline means refusing to dwell on negative thoughts, refusing to let fear dominate your decisions, refusing to allow distractions to scatter your attention. It means directing your focus toward what builds rather than what destroys. Just as you can discipline your body to move with strength, you can discipline your mind to think with clarity. This mental discipline ensures that even in difficult circumstances you remain anchored, intentional, and in control of yourself. Discipline is not perfection. It does not mean you will never stumble or miss a step. It means that when you do, you quickly return to your path. The undisciplined mind uses a single mistake as an excuse to give up completely. The disciplined mind sees it as a temporary detour and corrects course immediately. The difference is not that the discipline never falter, but that they always return. Consistency over time is more powerful than occasional bursts of effort, and discipline ensures that your consistency remains intact. Ultimately, discipline is self-respect in action. When you commit to discipline, you are telling yourself that your goals matter, that your vision matters, that your future matters. You are proving to yourself that you can be trusted to follow through, and that trust builds confidence. Confidence in turn fuels greater discipline, creating a cycle of growth. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about alignment with the life you truly desire. It is the act of choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term impulse, of choosing growth over stagnation, of choosing victory over defeat. The disciplined mind is unstoppable. It does not depend on mood, on circumstance, or on external approval. It decides, it commits, and it acts. Every day, every choice, every small act of discipline becomes a brick laid in the foundation of victory. Over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. With discipline, you will achieve what once seemed impossible, not because it happened overnight, but because you trained your mind to show up consistently until the impossible became inevitable. Chapter 6. Focus. Mastering the laser of attention. The most precious resource you possess is not money, time, or even energy. It is attention. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Focus is the laser that channels your energy, your intelligence, and your actions toward a single point, until results appear. Without focus, your potential is scattered, your progress diluted, and your victories delayed. With focus, even modest effort becomes powerful because it is concentrated. Training your mind to focus is not just about productivity, it is about mastery of life itself. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation begins with the decision to focus deeply on what matters most. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. We live in an age that constantly competes for your attention. Notifications, advertisements, endless streams of information, and countless voices pull you in 100 directions at once. The untrained mind falls victim to this chaos, chasing one thing after another without ever committing deeply to anything. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and still nothing significant is accomplished. The tragedy of distraction is not only that it wastes time, but that it robs you of depth. Without focus, you skim the surface of life without ever diving into the depth where real mastery and fulfillment are found. Focus is a discipline of choice. It is the ability to decide what deserves your attention and to refuse entry to everything else. This does not mean you ignore responsibilities or isolate yourself from the world, but it does mean you become intentional about where your energy flows. A scattered mind says yes to everything and wonders why nothing meaningful is finished. A focused mind says yes only to what matters most and accepts that saying no to the trivial is an act of strength. Every yes requires a no, and every no protects your yes. Focus is the art of protecting your most important commitments from the noise of distraction. Samanda. The power of focus is evident in even the smallest examples. Sunlight warms the skin, but when concentrated through a magnifying glass, it ignites fire. Water flowing freely is refreshing, but when concentrated through a turbine, it generates electricity. Human effort works the same way. A little bit of effort scattered across many goals produces frustration and half-completed projects. The same effort concentrated on a single goal produces breakthroughs, and massed focus multiplies force. It does not ask you to do more, but to do less, with greater intensity. Training focus begins with clarity. You cannot focus on what you have not defined. Many people drift through life unfocused, not because they are incapable, but because they have never taken the time to decide what they truly want. Without clarity, the mind chases whatever is loudest or most urgent, mistaking busyness for progress. Focus requires you to step back, to decide what matters most, and to set your sights firmly on it. Once clarity is established, focus becomes possible. You know where to direct your energy, and everything else becomes secondary. The greatest enemy of focus is distraction, and distraction often masquerades as opportunity. The mind convinces you that every possibility deserves exploration, that every idea deserves attention, that every request deserves a response. But spreading yourself thin is not generosity, it is self-sabotage. Focus requires the courage to turn down good things so that you can pursue great things. It demands that you protect your mental energy with the same vigilance you would protect a treasure, because, in truth, your focus is a treasure. Once it is fragmented, your strength is diminished. Once it is preserved, your strength is amplified. Another dimension of focus is presence. Focus is not only about long-term goals, but also about the ability to give your full attention to the present moment. Too often the mind drifts into the past with regret or into the future with anxiety, leaving the present moment neglected. Yet it is only in the present that you can act, create, and build. Presence sharpens your awareness, deepens your experience, and heightens your effectiveness. When you focus fully on what is in front of you, whether it is a task, a conversation, or a challenge, you unlock a level of depth that scattered attention can never reach. The mind must be trained to return to focus again and again. Distractions will come and attention will wander, but focus is the practice of bringing it back. Just as a muscle grows stronger through repetition, focus strengthens every time you redirect your attention to what matters. The first few attempts may feel difficult, but over time the mind learns discipline. What once felt impossible, working without interruption, engaging deeply without distraction, becomes natural. Focus is not achieved in a single moment, but cultivated through countless decisions to return, and return again. Focus is also deeply tied to resilience. Challenges and obstacles often scatter the mind, tempting you to give up or divert your attention to something easier. The focused mind resists this temptation. It remembers the goal, remembers the vision, and refuses to abandon the path for fleeting comfort. Focus sustains you when the journey becomes difficult, because it keeps your eyes fixed on the destination rather than the discomfort of the moment. In this way, focus not only creates progress but preserves endurance. Ultimately, focus is about alignment. It aligns your thoughts, your actions, and your energy with your deepest values and goals. Without focus, your life is fragmented, full of busyness but empty of depth. With focus, your life is unified, each action contributing to a greater purpose. This alignment brings not only progress but peace. You no longer feel pulled in 1,000 directions because you know exactly where you are going and why. That clarity quiets the noise and centers the mind. When you master focus, you take control of your life's direction. You stop scattering your potential across distractions and start channeling it into breakthroughs. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop wasting time on what does not matter and start investing fully in what does. Focus is not a gift for a select few. It is a skill that anyone can train. The question is whether you will discipline your mind to concentrate or allow it to be scattered. The choice you make in this invisible arena determines whether your life is one of shallow distractions or deep victories. The laser of attention is within your grasp. It requires clarity, discipline, and the courage to say no. It requires presence, resilience, and the willingness to return again and again to what matters most. Train your focus, and you will multiply your strength. Train your focus, and you will achieve more with less. Train your focus, and you will discover that the mind, once concentrated, can cut through any obstacle and light the path to victory. Chapter 7. Emotional Mastery. Taming the storm within. Every person carries within them a storm of emotions: joy, anger, fear, sadness, excitement, disappointment, love, and frustration, all rise and fall within the human heart. Emotions are powerful forces. They can inspire you to act with courage, or they can paralyze you with hesitation. They can deepen your connection with others, or they can push you into isolation. They can fuel your progress, or they can sabotage your discipline. The difference lies not in whether emotions appear, because they always will, but in how you respond to them. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings or pretending they do not exist. It is about learning to recognize them, to understand their purpose, and to guide their energy in ways that serve you rather than control you. Untrained emotions are like wild horses. They are full of power but difficult to direct. They pull you in unpredictable directions, leaving you exhausted and scattered. Trained emotions, on the other hand, are like disciplined steeds. They still carry the same strength, but now they respond to your guidance, moving in alignment with your purpose. Mastering your emotions does not mean extinguishing them. It means riding them with skill. The storm will always be there, but with mastery, the storm becomes wind in your sails rather than waves that sink your ship. Fear is one of the strongest emotions that people wrestle with. Fear has a purpose. It alerts you to danger. It keeps you cautious in uncertain situations, and it reminds you to prepare. But left unmastered, fear exaggerates threats, paralyzes decision-making, and convinces you to avoid opportunities that could transform your life. Emotional mastery allows you to feel fear without being ruled by it. You acknowledge its presence, you listen to its message, and then you decide whether to act in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move through it. Mastery ensures that fear sharpens your focus instead of shrinking your world. Anger is another powerful force. At its core, anger often signals that a boundary has been crossed, that something you value has been threatened, or that injustice has occurred. Used wisely, anger can motivate change, fuel determination, and give you the strength to confront challenges. But uncontrolled anger destroys relationships, clouds judgment, and drains energy. Emotional mastery does not deny anger, but channels it. Instead of exploding in destructive outbursts, the mastered mind uses anger as information, asking what it reveals about values, boundaries, or unmet needs. When directed with clarity, anger becomes fire for progress rather than chaos for destruction. Joy and excitement also require mastery. These emotions feel positive, but without balance they can lead to recklessness. People caught in the thrill of success sometimes make careless choices, assuming the good times will last forever. They overspend, overcommit, or overestimate their abilities. Emotional mastery ensures that joy is embraced fully without losing perspective. It allows you to celebrate victories while staying grounded, to enjoy success without being blinded by it. True mastery is not about dampening joy, but about sustaining it through wisdom and balance. Sadness and disappointment are emotions that people often try to avoid, but they play an essential role in the human experience. They invite reflection, they deepen empathy, and they allow you to process loss. Avoiding them only prolongs the pain. Mastery means creating space for sadness without drowning in it. It means honoring the experience of loss while remembering that it is not the end of your story. Emotional mastery transforms sadness into compassion, into gratitude for what was, and into resilience for what is to come. The storm still passes through, but you learn how to let it cleanse rather than consume. One of the most important practices in emotional mastery is awareness. Too often, people act on their emotions without even realizing what they are feeling. They lash out in anger, retreat in fear, or overindulge in joy without pausing to ask what is happening inside. Awareness interrupts that cycle. It allows you to notice the rising emotion before it dictates your behavior. With awareness, you create a space between the feeling and the action. In that space lies your freedom. You can choose to respond instead of react, to guide the emotion instead of being guided by it. Emotional mastery also requires responsibility. It is tempting to blame others for how you feel, to believe that someone else's actions caused your anger, sadness, or frustration. While others may trigger emotions, the responsibility for managing them always rests with you. No one can force you to react a certain way without your consent. Mastery begins when you stop giving away that power. You cannot control what others do, but you can always control how you respond. Taking responsibility for your emotions is not weakness, it is strength. It is the recognition that your inner world is yours to command. Another dimension of mastery is the ability to reframe emotions. The same situation can trigger very different feelings depending on how you interpret it. A setback can be framed as failure, creating despair, or as feedback, creating determination. A rejection can be framed as proof of unworthiness, or as redirection toward a better opportunity. Emotional mastery trains you to choose the frame that empowers you, rather than weakens you. The external event may be outside your control, but the meaning you give it belongs entirely to you. Emotional mastery also enhances relationships. When you can manage your own emotions, you stop projecting them onto others. You stop expecting others to regulate your moods or fix your frustrations. You become steady, dependable, and trustworthy. This steadiness allows others to feel safe around you, deepening trust and connection. It also allows you to listen more deeply because you are not consumed by your own inner storms. In this way, mastery of the self becomes a gift to others. It creates harmony not only within you, but also between you and those you care about. The storm of emotions will never disappear. You will always feel fear, anger, joy, sadness, excitement, and disappointment. Mastery does not eliminate the storm, it teaches you how to navigate it. It gives you the ability to feel deeply without losing control, to experience the full spectrum of emotions without being dominated by them. It ensures that emotions become guides rather than rulers, allies rather than enemies. The storm will still rise, but you will no longer fear it. You will ride its winds with skill, directing them toward the horizon of your purpose. Victory in life requires mastery of this inner storm. External success means little if you are constantly ruled by unchecked emotions. A brilliant career can be destroyed by anger, a loving relationship can be poisoned by fear, a promising future can be derailed by despair. Emotional mastery protects your victories and ensures they endure. It makes you steady in chaos, grounded in joy, and resilient in sorrow. When you train your mind to tame the storm within, you discover that no matter what happens outside of you, you remain in command inside of you. That is true mastery, and that is the foundation of unshakable victory. Chapter 8. Visualization, seeing victory before it arrives. Every great achievement begins twice, once in the mind and once in the world. The power of visualization lies in its ability to create an inner victory long before the external victory takes place. When you visualize, you are rehearsing success, training your mind to believe in a reality that has not yet materialized, and programming your actions to align with that vision. The human brain responds to imagined experiences almost as vividly as it does to real ones, which means that what you consistently see in your mind becomes a guide for what you do in life. Visualization is not fantasy or daydreaming. It is mental training of the highest order. It is the practice of creating clarity, confidence, and conviction so that when the moment of challenge arrives, your mind has already been there. Athletes have long understood this power. Before stepping onto the field, many elite competitors spend time vividly imagining the game, the race, or the performance. They see themselves moving with precision, feel the rhythm of their movements, and even hear the sounds of the environment around them. When the actual event begins, their body follows the script already rehearsed in the mind. This is not magic. It is mental conditioning. By visualizing victory, they reduce doubt, sharpen focus, and prepare themselves to act with confidence under pressure. The same principle applies far beyond sports. Whether you are preparing for a presentation, an interview, a conversation, or a new project, visualization allows you to experience success before it happens, making it more likely to occur when it matters most. Visualization also strengthens belief. One of the greatest obstacles to achievement is the inability to imagine yourself succeeding. If your mind cannot picture the possibility, your actions will unconsciously sabotage progress. Visualization breaks this barrier by allowing you to create a mental picture so vivid that your brain begins to accept it as possible, even inevitable. The more detailed and consistent the vision, the more deeply your belief is reinforced. When you hold that image in your mind, doubt loses power, because you have already seen yourself on the other side of the obstacle. For visualization to be effective, it must be intentional and consistent. Closing your eyes once and imagining success for a few seconds is not enough. Just as physical training requires repetition, mental training requires consistency. Daily practice of visualization conditions the mind to expect success. The clearer the picture, the stronger the impact. Engage all your senses, see the details, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, even imagine the smell and texture of the environment if possible. The brain thrives on specificity. A vague vision produces little change, but a detailed vision creates conviction. It is also important to visualize the process, not just the outcome. Many people imagine themselves crossing the finish line or receiving the reward, but neglect to picture the effort required along the way. Outcome visualization creates excitement, but process visualization creates preparation. When you mentally rehearse the work, the discipline, the obstacles, and your responses to them, you prepare yourself for the full journey rather than just the destination. This dual approach ensures that when challenges appear, you are not surprised. You have already seen them in your mind, and you know how to respond. Visualization also transforms fear. Often when people anticipate the future, they imagine everything that could go wrong. They rehearse failure in their minds, playing out worst-case scenarios over and over until anxiety paralyzes them. This too is visualization, but it is negative visualization and it drains energy. By consciously redirecting your mind to visualize success instead of failure, you reclaim that same mental energy and use it constructively. Fear rehearses defeat. Visualization rehearses victory. The choice is yours. Another aspect of visualization is alignment. When you visualize consistently, your subconscious begins to work in harmony with your conscious goals. You start to notice opportunities you once overlooked. You begin to attract resources, ideas, and people that align with your vision because your mind is primed to recognize them. Some call this luck, but in truth, it is preparation. You see what you train yourself to see. If your mind is filled with doubt, you will notice reasons to quit. If your mind is filled with vision, you will notice reasons to keep going. Visualization tunes your perception to opportunity. Skeptics sometimes dismiss visualization as unrealistic, but reality itself is shaped by visionaries. Every invention, every advancement, every breakthrough began in the mind of someone who dared to picture it before it existed. Airplanes, electricity, medical cures, and works of art all began as visions. The world is built by those who see what does not yet exist and then work to make it real. Visualization is not an escape from reality. It is the foundation of reality creation. By training yourself to see beyond what is visible, you step into the lineage of creators who expanded the boundaries of what was possible. The practice of visualization also builds resilience. When setbacks occur, as they always will, the vision keeps you anchored. It reminds you why you began and where you are headed. Without vision, obstacles feel final. With vision, obstacles feel temporary because you have already seen yourself beyond them. This does not mean the path is free of pain, but it does mean that pain cannot erase the picture of your future. That picture pulls you forward when your present feels heavy. It becomes a source of strength in moments when motivation fades. Ultimately, visualization is about ownership. It is the decision to create your future in the mind before it is created in the world. It is the recognition that you are not merely a passive participant in life, but an active architect. The future is not a fixed event waiting to be revealed. It is a canvas waiting to be painted. Visualization is your brush. It allows you to sketch the outlines of what will one day be built with action. The more clearly you draw, the more powerfully you act. Being victory before it arrives is not self-deception, it is self-direction. It tells your mind where to go, your body how to act, and your spirit what to expect. It turns hope into clarity and clarity into confidence. The world may not yet see your victory, but if you can see it, you are already halfway there. Train your mind to visualize with detail, with passion, and with persistence, and you will discover that what begins as an image in your mind will eventually take shape in your life. Victory is first seen, then lived, and visualization is the bridge between the two. Chapter 9. Self-talk, rewriting the inner dialogue. The most influential voice you will ever hear is your own. From the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep, your mind is engaged in an ongoing conversation with itself. This dialogue is constant, shaping the way you see yourself, the way you interpret events, and the way you decide what is possible. It can be your greatest ally or your most destructive enemy. The truth is that the words you repeat to yourself have more impact than the words of others because they become the filter through which you experience the world. If you tell yourself you are not capable, no amount of external encouragement can override that belief. If you tell yourself you are resilient and resourceful, no amount of external doubt can erase that conviction. Self-talk is the script that directs your performance in the invisible arena of the mind, and victory requires learning to rewrite that script with intention. Negative self-talk is one of the most common forms of mental sabotage. It is the voice that whispers you are not good enough, that you will fail, that others are more talented or more deserving than you. Sometimes this voice is inherited from the past, echoing the criticisms of parents, teachers, or peers. Sometimes it is born of fear, designed to protect you from risk by convincing you not to try. Whatever its source, the effect is the same. It shrinks your life. Negative self-talk magnifies obstacles and minimizes strengths. It convinces you to play small, to avoid opportunities, and to abandon dreams before they begin. Left unchallenged, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. As your actions align with the story of inadequacy you keep telling yourself. But just as negative self-talk can destroy confidence, positive self-talk can build it. This is not about empty affirmations or pretending challenges do not exist. It is about choosing a language that empowers rather than weakens. The words you speak internally should guide you towards solutions, remind you of your strengths, and keep you anchored in your vision. When you replace "I can't do this" with "I will figure this out," your mind shifts from paralysis to problem solving. When you replace "I always fail" with "I am learning and improving," your mind shifts from shame to growth. Words are not neutral, they are seeds. Whatever you plant in your mind through self-talk will eventually grow into belief, and belief will determine action. The discipline of rewriting self-talk begins with awareness. Most people are unaware of how negative their inner dialogue has become. They treat thoughts as automatic truths rather than patterns that can be changed. The first step is to listen. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself during difficulty, during mistakes, during moments of pressure. Do you criticize, belittle, or insult yourself in ways you would never use with someone you love? You speak with defeat before you even attempt. Awareness reveals the script that has been running unchecked in your mind, and only then can you begin to rewrite it. Rewriting self-talk requires conscious choice. When a negative phrase arises, you have the power to interrupt it and replace it with one that serves you. This does not mean pretending everything is easy, but it does mean refusing to let destructive language take root. If your inner voice says, "This is too hard," you can respond with, "This is challenging, but I am capable." If it says, "I will never succeed," you can respond with, "Success takes time, and I am committed to learning." Over time, these replacements rewire the default language of your mind. What once was automatic criticism becomes automatic encouragement, and that shift alters the way you act in every situation. It is important to recognize that self-talk is not just about motivation, it is about identity. Every word you speak to yourself reinforces an idea of who you are. When your dialogue is filled with negativity, you reinforce the identity of someone incapable or undeserving. When your dialogue is filled with strength, resilience, and possibility, you reinforce the identity of someone who is growing, capable, and worthy of success. Identity is powerful because actions follow identity. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. Rewriting self-talk is therefore not just a matter of improving mood, it is a matter of reshaping who you believe yourself to be. Another aspect of self-talk is tone. Sometimes the issue is not only what you say to yourself, but how you say it. An inner voice that constantly shouts in harsh criticism drains energy and increases stress. An inner voice that speaks firmly but kindly provides both accountability and encouragement. The most effective self-talk is like a great coach. Honest about weaknesses but unwavering in belief in your potential. That balance creates a voice that drives growth without crushing spirit. It is a voice that keeps you moving forward because it is rooted in belief rather than in shame. The environment around you also influences self-talk. If you are constantly surrounded by negativity, your inner voice will often mirror it. If you are surrounded by encouragement and growth, your inner voice will echo that as well. This is why protecting your environment is so important. Choose influences that reinforce the kind of dialogue you want within yourself. What you hear externally often becomes what you repeat internally, and over time it shapes the language of your self-talk. Self-talk also shapes resilience in the face of setbacks. When you stumble, the words you use internally determine whether you rise again or remain down. "I am a failure" keeps you stuck. "I failed, but I will learn" pulls you forward. The setback itself is neutral. It is your inner dialogue that decides whether it becomes a wall or a stepping stone. Those who master self-talk rise again and again because their inner voice never stops reminding them of possibility. Those who neglect it remain defeated long after the event has passed because their inner voice refuses to let them move on. The truth is that the inner dialogue will never be silent. You cannot turn it off, but you can train it. You can choose its language, its tone, and its focus. With practice, your self-talk becomes a source of strength rather than a drain of energy. It becomes a guiding force that encourages persistence, celebrates progress, and reminds you of your vision even in moments of doubt. This training is ongoing, but each day of intentional practice strengthens the voice of victory within you. Victory in life is not simply about external achievements. It is about mastering the conversation you carry inside yourself every single day. That dialogue shapes your confidence, your resilience, your choices, and your destiny. Train your self-talk to align with your vision, and you will carry within you a constant companion that pushes you forward. In the end, the most powerful coach, cheerleader, and guide you will ever know is the voice you create in your own mind. Rewrite it, strengthen it, and let it remind you daily that you are capable of beating anything. Chapter 10. Courage. Facing fear and choosing growth. Fear is one of the most primal human emotions. It has kept people alive for thousands of years, warning of danger and sharpening awareness in the face of threat. But in the modern world, fear often shows up in places where survival is not at stake. It whispers when you are about to try something new, when you are considering sharing your ideas, when you are stepping into unknown territory. It warns you not to risk embarrassment, not to risk failure, not to risk rejection. The truth is that fear is no longer a signal only of physical danger. It has become a signal of growth. Every time you feel fear, you are standing on the edge of expansion. To move through fear is to grow. To retreat from fear is to remain the same. Courage is the decision to move forward despite the fear, and it is one of the greatest mental victories you can train. Courage is not the absence of fear, as many people mistakenly believe. The absence of fear is not courage, it is ignorance or indifference. Courage begins where fear is present. It is the recognition of fear, the acceptance of its reality, and the decision not to be controlled by it. A courageous person feels the same trembling, the same hesitation, the same doubts as everyone else, but they choose differently. They choose to act anyway. They know that fear is not a wall, but a veil. Once you step through it, the power it seemed to hold dissolves, and on the other side, you discover a freedom you could never have reached by staying safe. The mind has a habit of magnifying fear. It creates vivid images of failure, embarrassment, or disaster, making the risk appear larger than it truly is. This magnification is designed to keep you cautious, but it often keeps you stagnant instead. Training your mind for courage requires shrinking fear back to its true size. Instead of imagining catastrophic outcomes, you begin to imagine the strength you will gain, the lessons you will learn, and the possibilities you will unlock by moving forward. Fear says, "What if it goes wrong?" Courage responds, "What if it goes right?" That simple shift in focus transforms hesitation into possibility. Courage also requires trust in your own resilience. Much of fear's power comes from the belief that failure is unbearable. But once you understand that you can recover from failure, fear loses its hold. You realize that setbacks are not the end of you, that rejection is not the end of your worth, and that mistakes are not the end of your growth. With resilience in your foundation, courage becomes easier because you know that no matter what happens, you can rise again. Fear thrives on the illusion that you are fragile. Courage thrives on the conviction that you are unbreakable. There is also a quiet form of courage that often goes unnoticed. It is not only found in dramatic leaps or heroic acts, but in daily decisions to face discomfort. It takes courage to speak your truth when silence would be easier. It takes courage to pursue a dream when others doubt you. It takes courage to stand back up after repeated failures. It takes courage to forgive when bitterness would be simpler. These moments may not be celebrated publicly, but they are victories in the invisible arena. Each act of quiet courage strengthens your character and prepares you for even greater challenges ahead. Fear often disguises itself as practicality. It convinces you to play safe, to wait for the perfect time, to take the smaller path. But what fear calls safe is often stagnation. Growth is never found in safety. It is found in risk. Courage is the willingness to step into uncertainty, trusting that you will find your way as you move. This does not mean acting recklessly or ignoring wisdom. It means recognizing that waiting for perfect certainty is a form of paralysis. Life does not reward hesitation. It rewards those who are willing to step forward with faith. Another truth about courage is that it multiplies. The first time you face fear, it feels overwhelming. But once you act, you discover that you survived, and the next time fear arises, you are stronger. Each courageous act builds a reservoir of confidence that you can draw on in future challenges. Over time, what once terrified you becomes normal, and new thresholds of growth open before you. Courage expands your comfort zone, stretching the boundaries of what you thought was possible. Without it, you remain trapped in familiar territory. With it, you continuously expand into greater strength and greater possibility. Courage also inspires others. When you act bravely, you give others permission to do the same. Your willingness to face fear becomes an example showing that it is possible to act even when doubt is loud. History is filled with ordinary individuals who acted with extraordinary courage, and their actions rippled outward to change the lives of millions. Courage is contagious. Each time you choose it, you not only liberate yourself from fear, but also light a path for others to follow. Ultimately, courage is a decision. It is not something you wait to feel, it is something you choose. You will rarely feel ready, rarely feel fearless, rarely feel completely certain. Courage does not wait for those feelings, it moves forward in their presence. It says, I feel the fear, and I act anyway. That decision is what separates those who live small from those who live expansive. It is what separates those who merely survive from those who thrive. The battle of courage will appear again and again in your life. Every new level of growth requires it. Every dream demands it. Every victory is guarded by it. Fear will always try to stand in your way, but courage will always have the power to move you forward. When you train your mind to respond to fear with courage, you stop running from growth and start running toward it. You stop shrinking back and start stepping up. You stop being controlled by fear and start being defined by courage. And in that moment, victory is already yours, because the greatest win is not the outcome, but the choice to face fear and grow. Chapter 11. Adaptability, the mind that can bend never breaks. Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan, how much you prepare, or how deeply you commit to a certain path, there will always be changes you did not anticipate. Plans collapse, circumstances shift, and what once felt stable can suddenly feel uncertain. In these moments, adaptability becomes the dividing line between those who crumble and those who continue to rise. Adaptability is the ability to bend without breaking, to adjust without losing direction, and to remain steady even when the ground beneath you changes. It is not the strongest or the smartest who thrive, but those who are willing to adapt. Rigid minds resist change. They cling to the way things were, insisting that life should remain as it was planned. When circumstances shift, they fight against reality, spending energy wishing things were different rather than responding to what is. That rigidity eventually breaks them, because life does not ask for permission to change. The adaptable mind, on the other hand, acknowledges reality quickly and responds with creativity. It does not waste energy fighting what cannot be controlled. Instead, it asks, how can I move forward from here? What new possibilities does this change reveal? This flexibility turns disruption into opportunity and ensures that challenges become catalysts for growth, rather than reasons for collapse. And adaptability does not mean abandoning your goals or compromising your values. It means being flexible about the path, while staying firm about the destination. The vision may remain the same, but the route to achieving it may shift many times. Those who are adaptable understand that detours are not failures, they are alternate routes. The destination is still reachable, but the journey may look different than expected. Adaptability ensures that no single setback, no single change, and no single loss can stop you, because you are willing to adjust your sails while keeping your eyes on the horizon. The mind resists adaptability because it craves certainty. Uncertainty feels uncomfortable, and change often triggers fear. But uncertainty is not the enemy. It is the natural state of life. The more you train your mind to embrace uncertainty, the stronger you become. Adaptability begins with acceptance. You cannot control everything, and you are not meant to. Once you accept this truth, you free yourself from the exhaustion of resisting change. Instead, you learn to flow with it, to adjust, and to continue moving. Acceptance is not surrender. It is clarity. It is the recognition that energy spent resisting is wasted, while energy spent adapting is productive. One of the hallmarks of adaptable people is creativity. When the expected path disappears, they do not give up, they invent a new one. They see possibilities where others see dead ends. They experiment, they innovate, and they remain open to new ideas. Adaptability thrives on curiosity. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? It asks, what can I learn? What can I try? What can I create from this? That curiosity transforms obstacles into opportunities. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history were born from disruption. when people were forced to think differently and adapt to circumstances they did not expect. Adaptability also requires humility. It demands that you admit when something is not working, that you let go of outdated methods, and that you remain willing to learn. Pride often keeps people stuck, clinging to failing strategies because they do not want to admit they were wrong. But adaptability values growth over ego. It recognizes that changing course is not weakness, but wisdom. The most adaptable minds are those that are humble enough to keep learning, flexible enough to keep adjusting, and strong enough to keep moving forward, regardless of how many times the path shifts. There is also resilience woven into adaptability. Every time you face change, you have a choice. You can see it as destruction or as transformation. Resilient and adaptable people see transformation. They understand that endings often lead to new beginnings, that losses often create space for new opportunities, and that change is not the enemy but the engine of growth. By aligning with this truth, they maintain hope even in the midst of uncertainty. They know that as long as they remain flexible, they cannot be broken. The world is changing faster than ever. Technology evolves, economies shift, cultures transform, and global events reshape life in ways no one can fully predict. In such a world, adaptability is no longer optional, it is essential. Those who cling rigidly to the old ways are left behind. Those who adapt continue to thrive. Training your mind to be adaptable means cultivating flexibility not only in action, but also in thought. It means being willing to see things differently, to change perspectives, and to remain open to new possibilities even when they challenge your assumptions. Adaptability also brings peace. When you stop demanding that life remain static, you release yourself from the constant frustration of unmet expectations. Instead, you flow with reality, making adjustments as you go. This does not mean you drift aimlessly, it means you navigate with fluidity. Just as a tree bends in the wind but does not break, the adaptable mind learns to bend when life demands it. That flexibility allows you to remain strong even when storms rage around you. At its core, adaptability is freedom. It frees you from the fear of change because you know you can handle whatever comes. It frees you from attachment to one outcome because you know other possibilities exist. It frees you from rigidity because you trust in your ability to grow through uncertainty. With adaptability, you stop fearing the unknown and start welcoming it as an arena for growth. You realize that change is not the end of stability but the beginning of evolution. The mind that can bend never breaks. It may be challenged, it may be stretched, and it may be tested, but it endures. Every shift becomes a lesson, every detour becomes a teacher, and every disruption becomes an opportunity. When you train your mind to be adaptable, you discover that no change can defeat you because you will always find a way forward. The world will continue to change, but with adaptability, you will continue to rise. Chapter 12, Momentum. Building unstoppable mental energy. Progress in life is rarely the result of one grand gesture or a single decisive action. More often it is the accumulation of small, consistent steps that compound over time. The power that emerges from this steady accumulation is called momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that makes continued progress easier once it has begun. Just as a rolling ball gathers speed with every rotation, momentum in life accelerates as each choice builds upon the last. The key is to start, to keep moving, and to allow consistency to create its own energy. Momentum is not only a physical principle, it is a mental one. When you build it, you become nearly unstoppable. The mind often resists beginnings. It exaggerates the size of the task, magnifies the difficulty of the journey, and convinces you that starting is futile unless you can guarantee the outcome. This hesitation traps many people at the starting line. But once you take even the smallest step, something shifts. The task is no longer abstract, it is real. Action disrupts hesitation. Each step, however small, reduces fear and creates clarity. Momentum begins in these moments when you choose movement over paralysis. The size of the step matters less than the fact that it is taken. Once motion is created, the next step is easier, and the one after that, easier still. Momentum also builds confidence. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action as many people assume, it is a result of action. Every time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you are capable. That proof accumulates until doubt no longer dominates your mind. You begin to trust yourself, to believe in your ability to endure, and to expect progress because you have experienced it. Momentum reinforces identity. You stop being someone who hesitates and start being someone who moves. That identity strengthens your mind and fuels even greater action. The compounding effect of momentum is one of its greatest powers. One disciplined choice may seem small, 1 hour of focus may seem insignificant, but repeated daily, those small choices accumulate into transformation. A person who commits to reading for 30 minutes each day becomes deeply knowledgeable over time. A person who commits to saving a small amount consistently builds wealth. A person who commits to training daily develops strength and endurance. Momentum turns small acts into significant results, proving that greatness is not built in a day, but in the steady accumulation of disciplined effort. Disruption is the greatest threat to momentum. Breaks in consistency can reset progress, forcing you to begin again. This is why discipline and focus are so closely tied to momentum. The goal is not perfection, but continuity. Even on days when energy is low or motivation is absent, showing up in some capacity preserves momentum. It is easier to maintain movement than to restart after stopping completely. Momentum is fragile in its early stages, but once it is established, it becomes self-sustaining. What once required effort becomes automatic. What once felt heavy becomes natural. The mind begins to expect progress, and that expectation itself creates energy. Momentum also transforms obstacles. When you are standing still, even small barriers feel overwhelming. A minor inconvenience can stop all progress because you have not yet created motion. But when momentum is strong, obstacles are far easier to overcome. They may slow you briefly, but they do not stop you. Just as a moving train cannot be halted by small debris on the tracks. A person with strong momentum is not stopped by minor setbacks. Momentum gives you resilience because it keeps you moving forward even in the face of resistance. Another truth about momentum is that it influences every area of life. Progress in one domain creates energy that spills into others. When you develop momentum in your physical health, your mental clarity improves. When you build momentum in your work, your confidence strengthens in personal pursuits. Momentum multiplies across areas because it reinforces identity and energy. You begin to see yourself as someone who moves, someone who progresses, someone who refuses stagnation. That identity naturally expands into every corner of your life, creating a cycle of growth. Momentum is also contagious. When others see you moving, creating, and progressing, they are inspired to do the same. Your consistency becomes a model, a spark that ignites the energy of those around you. In teams, families, or communities, momentum often begins with one person and spreads until the entire group is lifted. This is why leaders who embody momentum create movements. Their steady progress invites others to join, and together the energy becomes unstoppable. To build momentum, you must embrace the principle of starting small. Too many people wait until they can make giant leaps. But giant leaps are rare. Small steps are always available. If you cannot commit to an hour, commit to 5 minutes. If you cannot accomplish the entire task, accomplish part of it. Each small action contributes to the motion, and motion is the seed of momentum. The important thing is to begin and to keep building, because once momentum grows, it carries you further than you ever imagined. Momentum also requires patience. The early stages often feel slow. Results may not be visible and the temptation to quit may be strong. But patience ensures that you remain consistent long enough for the compounding effect to appear. It is like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first it barely moves despite enormous effort. But with each push it turns slightly more, until eventually it spins freely with little resistance. Momentum in life functions the same way. Patience is the price, but once momentum is established, progress becomes exponentially easier. Ultimately, momentum is a choice. It is the decision to begin, the decision to continue, and the decision to protect progress against interruption. It does not require perfection, it requires persistence. It does not demand massive effort, it demands steady effort. The mind that understands this truth is unstoppable. It knows that greatness is not in sudden bursts but in consistent forward motion. It knows that action once repeated creates energy that feeds itself. It knows that victory is not a single event, but a rhythm of progress that becomes unstoppable once it begins. When you train your mind to build momentum, you unlock a force that carries you further than willpower alone ever could. You stop hesitating and start moving. You stop doubting and start trusting. You stop starting over and start compounding. Momentum becomes your ally, your energy, and your proof that small, consistent steps can beat anything. Once you have it, you are difficult to stop, because momentum is not just movement, it is movement with power. Chapter 13, Connection, the collective power of abundant minds. No one wins alone. Every great achievement, no matter how individual it may appear, is supported by a network of influence, encouragement, and collaboration. Human beings are wired for connection, and the quality of your connections often determines the quality of your life. Victory is not only a personal matter of discipline, focus, and resilience, it is also a collective matter of who surrounds you, who speaks into your life, and whose energy you allow into your mental space. Connection is not just about companionship. It is about alignment with people who elevate your thinking, expand your vision, and remind you of your strength when you forget it. The mind is highly influenced by its environment. If you spend your time surrounded by negativity, doubt, and fear, it is almost impossible to maintain an abundant mindset. The words, attitudes, and beliefs of those around you seep into your own thinking, sometimes without you even noticing. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who believe in growth, who encourage resilience, and who practice abundance, your mind naturally aligns with those same qualities. This is why connection is not a luxury but a necessity. The right environment nurtures mental victory, while the wrong environment erodes it. One of the most powerful aspects of connection is encouragement. In moments of struggle, your own self-talk may falter, doubt may grow louder, and resilience may feel heavy. But the voice of another who believes in you can reignite your strength. A simple reminder from someone you trust can be enough to lift you from despair and push you back onto the path of growth. Encouragement is not about empty praise, it is about reminding each other of truth when fear is loud. In the collective power of connection, you borrow courage from others until your own courage returns. Connection also sharpens accountability. When you walk alone, it is easy to drift, to excuse inconsistency, or to let discipline slip. But when you are connected to others who share your values and goals, you hold one another accountable to the standards you set. Accountability does not mean control or judgment. It means support. It is the steady presence of someone who refuses to let you quit on yourself. This form of connection ensures that even when your willpower weakens, the collective strength of the group sustains your momentum. The collective power of abundant minds is also creative. One mind, no matter how brilliant, has limits. But when multiple minds collaborate, new ideas emerge, new perspectives unfold, and new solutions appear. Collaboration multiplies possibility. When you connect with others who think abundantly, the potential expands beyond what you could have created alone. This is why some of the greatest movements, innovations, and breakthroughs in history were not the work of a single individual, but the combined effort of many minds united in purpose. It is important to recognize that not all connections are equal. Some connections drain energy rather than build it. Some relationships pull you back into scarcity, negativity, or fear. Part of mental victory is learning to evaluate your connections honestly and to make difficult decisions about who belongs in your inner circle. This does not mean you discard people without compassion, but it does mean you guard your mental environment with vigilance. You cannot train your mind for victory while constantly exposing it to voices of defeat. The company you keep is either a weight holding you down or a wind lifting you higher. Connection also provides perspective. Alone, it is easy to become trapped in your own thinking, repeating the same doubts and magnifying the same fears. But in connection, others can help you see what you cannot. They can point out strengths you overlook, highlight opportunities you miss, and challenge limiting beliefs you cling to. This perspective broadens your vision and prevents you from shrinking into narrow patterns of thought. Abundant connections remind you that the world is bigger than your fears, and that solutions often lie just beyond your current perspective. Another vital role of connection is resilience. When life knocks you down, the support of others helps you rise more quickly. Shared burdens are lighter and shared victories are sweeter. The presence of a supportive community ensures that you do not face storms alone. Even the strongest individuals have moments of weakness, and in those moments, the strength of connection carries them. Resilience is multiplied in community because courage, hope, and perseverance are contagious. In times of difficulty, the collective power of abundant minds ensures that you rise together. Connection also aligns with abundance because it replaces competition with collaboration. Scarcity thinking convinces people to guard resources, to compare constantly, and to see others as threats. Abundance thinking, expressed through connection, recognizes that success multiplies when shared. When you celebrate the victories of others, you strengthen your own. When you contribute to the growth of those around you, you expand the collective potential. This shift from competition to collaboration transforms relationships into powerful alliances. It creates a culture where everyone rises together instead of pulling one another down. The truth is that you become like those you spend the most time with. Your habits, your mindset, and even your language are shaped by the people closest to you. This is why choosing connection wisely is one of the most important decisions you can make. Surround yourself with people who remind you of possibility rather than limitation, who lift you higher rather than pull you lower, who push you to grow rather than allow you to stagnate. These connections become mirrors that reflect the best version of yourself back to you, reinforcing the mindset of victory you are building. At its core, connection is about energy. Every interaction either adds to your energy or subtracts from it. Every relationship either builds your abundance or drains it. When you intentionally build connections with those who live in strength, resilience, and possibility, you create an environment where victory becomes natural. Your mind no longer has to fight against constant negativity. Instead, it is nourished by encouragement, supported by accountability, and inspired by collaboration. Victory may be personal, but it is never solitary. The strength of your connections influences the strength of your mind. To train your mind to beat anything, surround it with voices that echo abundance, with people who remind you of your potential, and with allies who walk beside you through every challenge. The collective power of abundant minds is unstoppable, because it multiplies resilience, creativity, and hope. When you choose connection wisely, you are not only training your own mind for victory, you are joining forces with others to create victories far greater than anything you could achieve alone. Chapter 14. The Limitless Mind, Living Beyond Boundaries. Every person is born with immense potential, yet most people live within boundaries they never question. These boundaries are not always physical. More often, they are mental walls constructed from fear, doubt, and past experience. They are built from the voices of others who said you could not, from the setbacks that made you hesitant, from the stories you told yourself about what is possible. Over time, these invisible barriers become cages, convincing you that your life must remain smaller than it was meant to be. But the truth is that the mind, once disciplined, resilient, and abundant, is limitless. To train your mind for victory is to dismantle these walls and step into a reality where growth has no end. A limitless mind begins with belief. It does not accept that the past defines the future. It does not believe that current circumstances determine ultimate destiny. Instead, it sees every limitation as temporary, every obstacle as an opportunity, and every setback as a setup for greater strength. Where others see endings, the limitless mind sees new beginnings. Where others see scarcity, it sees infinite possibility. This perspective is not naive optimism, it is a conscious choice to refuse confinement by the boundaries that fear and doubt construct. Belief is the seed of the limitless mind, and it grows every time you choose to see possibility where others see none. A limitless mind is also fueled by vision. It stretches beyond the horizon of immediate circumstances and imagines futures not yet visible. Vision gives direction to growth and pulls you toward expansion. Without vision, even a powerful mind drifts in circles, repeating old patterns. With vision, the mind aligns with purpose and begins to create pathways to make it real. Vision is what allows you to live beyond boundaries, because it shows you a reality bigger than the one you currently inhabit. When the vision is strong enough, it pulls you beyond every limitation that tries to hold you. The limitless mind does not deny challenges. It faces them with confidence because it knows that the human spirit grows through difficulty. Each challenge becomes a teacher, each obstacle a lesson, and each setback a chance to rise higher. This perspective transforms the way you approach life. You stop fearing difficulty because you know it is shaping you into someone stronger. You stop fearing uncertainty because you know adaptability will carry you. You stop fearing failure because you know resilience will raise you again. The limitless mind is not about escaping hardship, but about harnessing it. Another characteristic of the limitless mind is its ability to remain curious. Boundaries often persist because people assume they already know what is possible. Curiosity disrupts this pattern. It asks, "What if?" It explores beyond the obvious and refuses to accept that the current way is the only way. Curiosity opens doors that fear keeps closed, and reveals opportunities that rigidity cannot see. When the mind remains curious, it never stagnates. It is always expanding, always learning, always exploring new frontiers of growth. Curiosity is one of the engines of the limitless mind because it ensures that boundaries are always being challenged and expanded. The limitless mind also thrives on contribution. True expansion is not only about personal achievement, but about impact. When you live beyond boundaries, your victories are not confined to yourself. They ripple outward to others, inspiring them, strengthening them, and multiplying abundance. Contribution reinforces abundance because it proves that there is more than enough to share. It creates meaning because growth without impact eventually feels hollow. The limitless mind understands that the greatest victories are not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you create for others. Contribution ensures that your expansion continues because you are always connected to something larger than yourself. Living beyond boundaries requires courage. Fear will always attempt to pull you back into safety, into the familiar, into the comfortable. It will tell you that the unknown is dangerous, that risk is reckless, that dreaming bigger is unrealistic. But the limitless mind knows that the unknown is where growth resides, that risk is the price of expansion, and that dreams are the blueprint of future reality. Courage is the fuel that carries you through the threshold of limitation into the space of abundance. Every act of courage weakens the walls around you, until eventually those walls crumble complete. The limitless mind is also anchored in gratitude. Gratitude grounds expansion so that it does not become greed. It ensures that as you pursue greater visions, you remain rooted in appreciation for what already exists. Gratitude does not diminish ambition, it strengthens it. It creates joy in the present, even as you strive for more in the future. The limitless mind is not restless or dissatisfied. It is thankful and expansive. Gratitude keeps expansion balanced, ensuring that growth is pursued from abundance rather than from lack. Perhaps the most liberating truth about the limitless mind is that boundaries are illusions. They exist only to the extent that you accept them. The moment you decide they are not permanent, they begin to weaken. History is filled with examples of people who shattered boundaries others thought were fixed. They broke records, redefined possibilities, and expanded the limits of human potential. What set them apart was not extraordinary resources, but extraordinary belief, vision, and persistence. They refused to accept the boundaries others lived within, and by doing so, they redefined what was possible for everyone. The journey to the limitless mind is not about reaching a final destination, because growth has no finish line. It is about living in a state of continual expansion, where each victory opens the door to greater victories, where each lesson prepares you for new frontiers, and where each act of courage proves that the mind truly has no limits. This way of living transforms every aspect of your life. You stop asking whether you can, and start asking how you will. You stop waiting for permission, and start creating your own path. You stop seeing limits as walls, and start seeing them as invitations to rise. When you live with a limitless mind, nothing can truly defeat you. Circumstances may challenge you, but they cannot confine you. Setbacks may slow you, but they cannot stop you. Fear may whisper, but it cannot command you. The boundaries that once defined your world dissolve, and in their place rises a reality of endless growth, endless contribution, and endless possibility. The limitless mind is not a gift given to a few. It is a choice available to all. It is the decision to train your mind until boundaries no longer hold power over you, and to step boldly into a life where you live, grow, and contribute without limits.